Oh, I made some LED light arms. They're movable arms, so I can move the LEDs to the workstation or wherever on my bench that I need extra light. I'm getting on in years, and my eyesight, I seem to need a lot more light than I did 30 years ago. Uh, so I mounted them on some arms that you can move around. You can also pivot, turn the LED light to whatever angle you want. I can move these around as well. And it seems to work quite well. I made the boxes out of cedar. One thing I did make sure is I made the back, these back plates are made out of steel, and that's to dissipate heat, because this back plate, steel plate here, can get quite warm with the LEDs. And the wood, but the wood itself stays nice and cool. But if I had used a wood a back plane, I would be probably concerned a little bit about heat buildup. There wouldn't be any. I might even take a heat sink and put a heat sink on top of these, because they do get quite warm. And basically just screwed it together. I've also put a switch. Now, one thing I did do for these LED lights, instead of putting a power supply with each light, what I've done is I've used a central power supply that I got that the 5-volt line went out of regulation on, so I really didn't need the 5 volts. All I wanted was 12 volts. So I took that and repurposed that to use as a 12-volt supply. It's a 500-watt power supply, so I could potentially run probably about 30 of these lamps if I want them to run at full power. But I'm not sure how long this power supply would last with that. Because it's 12 volts here, I can get away with using the heat shrink tubing. This one I marred because the heat shrink fell off. I put protective surround wire guard and around there, just in case something hits the wires or shorts it out or whatever. And nothing bad can happen, because as soon as there's a short detected in the power supply, it just shuts down dead anyways. The arms themselves are made out of Baltic birch, or Russian birch, I guess. These knobs here are just made out of cherry, and the finish is just a straight lacquer, and that's just to raw wood tends to build up dust really easily, so I put the lacquer on there just to keep the dust build up down. For the knobs, all I've done is I cut them out with a hole saw, and these are just these connector bolts for steel rods, and I just cut one in half. It's a 5/16 inch, and cut it in half and then epoxied it into the cherry knob. The pivot mount system is made out of Russian birch as well. It's just screwed into a stud. It's got an angle bracket. The angle bracket is just Russian birch, and then I just put the support in there just to make sure that the bracket wouldn't go anywhere, or wouldn't break, and it's just glued in, no, with a couple. The block that sits on top of the bracket is, again, it's just Russian birch. It's got a 1/2-inch bolt through it. It's just a carriage bolt, and I used the lock nut and the washer to bolt that onto the bracket, and then the first pivot arm that mounts to the block is again Russian birch. It's just screwed and glued together, and all the tightening bolts from then on are 5/16. The rods themselves are 21 inches, and it's just rounded over at each end, and a 5/16 inch hole drilled into the onto each end about 1 inch away, just to so they don't break. Now these boxes, they just come apart. You slide the bottom as well, just slides out. Just need to remove this retaining bracket, which is also a wire relief, so that the wires don't get any strain inside the light itself. These are inside the light is just light strips that I ordered off of eBay, and they're 5630 LED strips. So this would take this box here would take approximately about 2 amps current at 12 volts, and then it's simply there's 7 strips, 9 LEDs long. Now I think for these, I believe I paid about $15 for 5 meters of the LED strip. That's 5 meters. Just unbelievably cheap. They work excellent. They're every bit as good as anything you can buy here. And this just slides on to protect the LEDs. This switch, something I got off of eBay, and they cost pennies. You can get the round ones or get the square ones. For me, I find it's with the round ones, the thread on the switches just don't go quite deep enough, so that's why I just chisel out the square ones. For me, it's just as easy to make a square hole as it is a round hole anyways. So that doesn't take much at all. There's a mounting bracket, mounting bolt on the back, and it's just bolted in. Now with cedar, I probably, if I had to do this again, when I build my next set, I'm probably not going to use cedar. It doesn't seem to take glue very well. It's the first time I've ever tried to use wood glue on cedar, and it just doesn't seem to, the glue just doesn't work that well on it. So I'll probably use beech or something that's a little bit more easier to work with, I guess. I mean, there's probably easy ways to glue cedar. I just don't. I don't want to investigate it long enough to. I'd rather just change wood. So, and I just put some screws in there because I couldn't get the joints to strong enough with the glue by itself. And yeah, I guess that's about it for the LED lights. Have a great day.